Man pinged by cops who got scared by an Acorn, damaged for life. This is why body cameras exist. Stuff like this. This dude resigned, but the incompetence in a situation like this is just ridiculous. Okay, and this is why we have body cameras.
Read this first line.
Marquise. Oh, and the dude was black. Gosh, darn it.
Check this out.
Marquise Jackson was handcuffed in the back of a police car when officers began firing into the car after being startled by an Acorn.
Their own vehicle that they already handcuffed them. Oh, man, that's not good. Deputy Hernandez asked, Acorn? Investigator Hogan answered, Acorn. All right, let's read it. Let's read it.
You know, it requires more hours of training to become a barber in California than it does to become a police officer.
That's crazy.
Hey, I did not like Black Lives Matter as an organization. I'll go on the record and say that. But you can't tell me that desiring more police accountability and desiring people to have body cams and not to use certain chokeholds was a bad idea. You call me woke if you want to. But this stuff can't happen. You know what can't happen? This can't happen. And pastors touching little girls and grooming women in church can't happen. There's just certain stuff that just can't happen. This is not okay. Don't give me selective empathy for the police officer all of a sudden. Don't do that. This is crazy.
You don't know what they go through, Ruslan.
And pastors can't sell either. No, we can't have that either. There's just certain things that just should never happen. In November 2023, a police officer in Okaloosa County, Florida, got in a heated what an Acorn. Endangering the life of a detained man who was handcuffed in the car. In a video that has gone viral, praise God, this poor guy that was handcuffed did not get shit. In a video that's gone viral on social media this week, both for its absurdity and terrifying implications, Deputy Jesse Hernandez hears an Acorn drop onto his car. In response, he dramatically rolls on the ground while repeatedly shouting, "Shots fired," and unloading his sidearm into the vehicle, shattering its back window. Yeah, a Florida man, right? Of course, it's freaking happened in Florida. At the time, a handcuffed man named Marquise Jackson was inside the vehicle. Jackson is a Black Florida resident who had been detained by Hernandez and his partner, Sergeant Beth Roberts, after being accused of stealing a car and sending threatening messages to his girlfriend. One of the messages included what police said was an image of a pistol silencer. After rolling on the ground, Hernandez shouted, "I'm hit." No, he didn't. He thought he was hit. He thought the Acorn hit him. He had not been hit. Yo, Vice is so petty for this. Vice is so petty for this. And told Roberts that shots were coming from inside the car. Roberts also unloaded her firearm. So both of them, how many bullets are in one of these firearms? 14? You think it's
15 to 17.
Yeah, 15 to 17. So this isn't like a California magazine.
This is, well, in California, cops can have 15 to
I'm saying
20.
like the magazines we have as civilians.
6+1.
Yeah, 6+1. Like it's not the same. This is insane. Roberts also unloaded her firearms at the vehicle as Jackson lay in the back seat. The incident is a stunning example of police incompetency. You don't say.
All right, let's.
You really want to watch this video?
This is what I spend my free time doing, bro.
Explicit.
All right, let's listen for this Acorn, everybody. Ready?
Shots fired!
This is insane.
What? In the car! I was shot through the car!
He's like crawling. He thinks he's hit. Look at him. This man thinks he's hit. He thinks he's injured. He's like looking up at the sky.
I'm good. I feel weird, but I'm good.
He just realized he was not hit. That's when he realized he was not. I feel weird. Oh my goodness, man.
Okay, so I think the vast majority of police officers are upstanding, amazing people that genuinely want to protect and serve. But then there's people that are incompetent to a whole nother degree. And these people, they have to figure out ways to filter these people out. I don't know if that requires more training. I don't know if that requires more. I'm not saying, definitely don't defund the police. Maybe increase their funding, increase the training, increase the exams, make it harder.
There needs to be like a jumpy test. Like if you're that jumpy,
Yeah.
there needs to be like you wear a heart rate monitor
Yeah.
through calls, and if your heart rate monitor spikes too high, you're like, all right, hey man,
Maybe you just eliminate certain personality types, like people that are high in
Yeah.
neuroticism, like people that are like on edge and emotional like that. You
Yeah.
just gotta remove those people. Make sure this poor gentleman didn't get
Yes, it's
any of
horrifying.
those. But that was.
Hopefully he ducked. And
Well,
hopefully
he was
those,
handcuffed in the back of the car.
hopefully those police cruisers were
Lest it simply be fodder for social media jokes, it's just worth looking at how the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office handled the issue and the effect it had on Jackson. Hold on, let me read the whole sentence. Just go up a little bit. The incident is a stunning example of police competence and law enforcement's willingness to use deadly force against the public, lest it simply become fodder. Okay, so here's the thing about that sentence. Not all law enforcement is incompetent. Most aren't, and not
Yeah.
all law enforcement are willing to just flippantly use deadly force against the public, right? Like obviously this is ridiculous. This is just as crazy, and you gotta weed these people out. But that's like assuming that all pastors sell, like, right? Like it's not that's not the case. But
exactly.
but if this is maybe in a smaller town, maybe less training. Like I don't know what the issue is here, right? Lest it simply become fodder for social media jokes, it's worth looking at the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office handled this issue and the effect it had on Jackson, who said he has severely psychologically impacted on the damage for life. Hernandez resigned while under investigation for his handling of the incident on December 4th. According to a February 9th press release from Sheriff Eric Aiden, a document laying out the investigation findings would become comical if the stakes weren't so high. It described Hernandez falling over, rolling on the ground for several seconds, falling over again while struggling to stand up and breaking his sunglasses, setting a piece flying into the frame. He shouted shots fired 4 times, said the shots were coming from the car, and claimed he was hit. His partner, who was also unloaded into the car, seemed confused, at one point simply asking him, "What?" The sound of an acorn hitting the car is barely audible before the shooting begins. We didn't hear it.
I didn't hear anything.
During the investigation, Hernandez was initially adamant that shots had been fired. He said that he had not have prior law enforcement experience, but that he had trained at West Point. And so this was a rookie and served as an infantry and special forces for a decade. He was in infantry for a decade,
Eesh. So he's been around gunfire for a decade.
which included 2 rotations in Afghanistan. Okay, this dude probably has
he had
PTSD. He probably had PTSD. You can't.
That's a bummer.
You can't have
yeah.
these guys policing people. He said that he never faced combat because he was an officer. He said maybe he didn't have PTSD. Eventually, investigators showed him frame by frame footage of an acorn hitting the car. Acorn, Hernandez asked. Acorn, the investigator responded. Ultimately, investigations concluded that Hernandez's use of force was not justified because the only external stimulus he had was the sound of an acorn. However, his partner was exonerated, and in a statement on Hernandez's resignation, Sheriff Aiden still defended Hernandez as genuinely fearing for his life again over the sound of an acorn.
Yikes.
We are very thankful for Mr. Jackson wasn't injured, and we have no reason to think former Deputy Hernandez acted with any malice. Well, that's the thing. You don't have to act any malice to be incompetent.
Yeah, and you have lots of responsibility.
You have a lot of responsibility with a firearm. Though his actions were ultimately not warranted, we do believe he felt his life was in immediate peril. Okay, so because of it, so this is the issue. This is the issue, guys. This is the issue here. We would look at certain communities and we would say you can't exhibit deviant behavior, you can't exhibit incompetent behavior, and you definitely can't expect everyone to affirm what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be boundaries, and there's certain violations that are unjustifiable. So I don't, that would be, right? If we're talking like trans kids, we would say, hey, no, because someone feels something that doesn't justify the reality of what they want to do. And we have to, folks on the right, pro-police people, I love the police, but we have to be willing to extend that same logical conclusion to a situation like this and other situations where you go, I felt fear for my life.
Yeah, man.
And there's no discipline action because of an acorn?
Not to mention, there's no like accountability from the actual sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
Like they should be apologizing for hiring him in the first place.
Right.
There should be some sort of process where they go, oh, like we have systems set up for this, and it's our fault for not seeing that he was incapable of handling stressful situations.
Right. Right. There was a breakdown in this hiring process,
Yep.
in something. And
To me, that's the most logical like excuse if you're gonna give an excuse. But like trying to say like we do agree that we understand that he did feel like he was in immediate peril. It's like, what does that even it's like just because he feels that way doesn't mean he is that way.
yeah, and this is so when we see is there anything else here? I'm gonna make this final point. All I could do was lean over and play dead to prevent getting shot in the head. I was scared to death, and I knew all I could depend on was God. I ignored everything and prayed. Windows were shattering on me the whole time, and the bullets continued flying across me. I was blessed not to get hit by any bullets or get hurt physically or mentally. I'm not okay. I haven't been the same since, and I don't think this feeling will ever change. I truly believe I'm damaged for life. Well, I don't.
Setting up that.
Yeah, seriously. I don't think he's damaged for life per se, but he's entitled for compensation.
I mean, a decent amount.
A decent amount. So here's the macro idea. We just got to have just scales. We got to have just scales. You can't look at the Transformer community, the LGTV community, and when they say, I feel this way on the inside, therefore you should affirm me, and then be okay when police say, I fear for my life, and there's no credible threat, and they should be affirmed. You can't do that. That's logically inconsistent. It's an incoherent position. And punchline, if we had just scales, maybe we wouldn't have situations like this, right? Maybe these situations would have been prevented and there would have been less of this sort of stuff happening that then caused this massive rift amongst the BLM types and the right? Like, because nobody likes bad policing.
Yeah.
Right? But when you ignore people who say, I felt in fear for my life, and so therefore I unloaded a clip on a kid with a toy. I unloaded a clip on a dude in a Walmart. Right? These things really happened. I thought someone's wallet was a firearm, so I 40. These things kept happening over and over, and the right was like, well, the cop feared for his life, and now that the shoe has changed, you got the left saying, well, I felt like I'm a man, so you have to affirm me as a man. Or I feel I'm a woman, so you have to affirm me as a woman. You have to let me use a woman's bathroom. You have to call me by woman pronouns, and you got to let me go to women's jail and impregnate biologically born women. We go, that's ridiculous. But the same logic, it wasn't really extended. And I'm not saying that BLM I disavow everything about that organization. But what I'm saying is when you are willing to reasonably concede certain points, that's when you get the hoopla we got post George Floyd. That's where you got the hoopla. And some Marxist ideology and some postmodernity and all kinds of nonsense that crept into that. But that's how you get to that boiling point.
Darkness.
And so I think we have to have just scales, especially as Christians. When somebody goes, hey, these things keep happening. And I understand they only happen a couple times a year, but they're kind of messed up when they happen. And we should do something about it. We should hold police accountable. Because, by the way, more unarmed white people get killed by police than unarmed black people.
Per capita, Ruslan.
Yeah, per capita. And so I think that's that. And this shouldn't trigger you. Like, is anything I'm saying here, like, controversial?
No.
I think it's fairly reasonable to be like, police should be held accountable.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Police should be held accountable. Departments should be held accountable. Chiefs should be held accountable. We should be holding people accountable. That's it, especially people that have the right to do these sorts of things. We see according to the Bible that prayer is extremely important in terms of us being transformed from the inside out when we get aligned with God's will. For the Christians watching this channel, I want you guys to implement these spiritual disciplines in your day-to-day life. And the only way I've been able to do this consistently is through writing down my prayers in a prayer journal that does a few things. One, it allows me to reflect and come to God humbly and ask Him to move on my behalf. And two, it allows me to document my prayers, which ultimately help me remember the very things that I was praying for and see the hand of God tangibly in my life when He answers them. So I would urge you, consider writing down your prayers. It could be in a blank notebook. It could even be on your phone. Or you could check out the one I personally designed and used from my own quiet time and spiritual discipline that I think will be a huge blessing. It's the exact structure and system that I've used for years to pray and be more consistent in my spiritual disciplines. You can pick yours up today by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.